G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Let's go. Am I the asshole for not inviting my stepmother and her daughter to my wedding? I, 24 female, am getting married next summer to my fiancé, Jay. My mum died when I was 7. My dad married Kay 4 years later. Kay has a daughter, E, 22, from a previous relationship. K and E are easily the most entitled, spoilt, and rude people I have ever met. They never treated me like family. K has done everything possible to push me away from the family. I haven't been in any family pictures since I was 14. I was never allowed on any family vacations or activities. Per K's request, my dad banned any family members from giving me any gifts for my birthday and holidays. She always hated me. I can't even remember all the times I cried because of the things that she would say to me. E was the favorite child. Whatever she wanted, they would get it for her. But for me, I had to work if I wanted something. School supplies? Work for them. My clothes don't fit anymore? Work for new clothes. E liked to break my stuff, and I would be grounded because I got mad at her. My last straw was when she cut all the pictures that I had of my mum. Dad found me crying, and when I showed him the pictures, he told me just to let it go. So I packed a bag and went to stay with my grandparents. I was only 17. Dad never came back for me, he never called or texted me either. He reached out to me when I was 20. He apologized and said that he wanted to reconnect. I told him that if he wants that, he will have to work very hard to earn a relationship with me, since he hasn't been my dad since I was 12, and in 3 years, I haven't heard from him at all. He said he will do anything to be my dad again. Since then, I've been low contact with him because I don't feel like he's putting in enough work into our relationship. I finished college last year, and he attended the ceremony, and after that, we went to spend the entire weekend together bonding. It was the first time that I felt like I had a dad in almost 13 years. I wanted my dad to attend the wedding as a guest, but I don't want K or E there. I talked to my dad about it, and he was okay with attending as a guest. My grandpa will be walking me down the aisle, but he was really mad when I said that I will not invite K or E. His reasoning is that they are his family, so that makes them mine too, and he doesn't want them to be excluded. He then said he will not attend if they aren't invited, so I said, okay, I guess then you won't attend my wedding, and our relationship is over since you are choosing them over me again. It is my wedding, and I don't want those disgusting people there. Do not contact me again. Go be with your perfect little family and just forget that I exist. You have practice on that. Goodbye. And then I blocked his number. Some family members reached out to me, and they told me that I should be the bigger person, and maybe the wedding could be what's going to fix our relationship. My grandparents said that it's my big day, and I shouldn't have people that make me feel uncomfortable there. Jay and his parents agree that I shouldn't invite people that hurt me just because they are legally considered family. So am I the asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. Your wedding should be one of your happiest days of your life. Your father has made his choice. You don't always need to be the bigger person anyway, but they are not even really asking you to do that. They are asking you to be a pushover and let your father and his wife and her child get their way. That is not being the bigger person. You are so much better off without. OP, I hope that you have a wonderful wedding, stress-free, and embrace your new family. I never understand be the bigger person. No, like, what's in it for me? It's almost always said to the person who has zero wrongdoing in a situation as well. OP didn't get any birthday or Christmas presents for years just because stepmom didn't want it to happen and threw a fit, which is only one of the many things that stepmom did, and yet somehow OP is still supposed to be the bigger person. Do that as a 24-year-old instead of, the people who are adults and have been adults for decades? Ugh. Yeah, like reading all the injustice and cruelty actually made my whole body tense up in a rage for poor little child OP. Not the asshole. Your grandparents are right. They have done nothing to deserve being invited, and why sacrifice your own happiness on your wedding day for them? Not the asshole, and I shudder to think of what they would do at your wedding to mess it up or make it about them. Exactly. Plus, I'm afraid that he would just bring them anyway. Yep, OP's dad has proven time and time again that he doesn't care about anyone except his cruel wife and spoiled stepkid. The day he decided to let them bully and alienate OP, he gave up his right to be in her life. She was generous enough to let him back in, and now he is wasting that chance. Not the asshole OP. I hope you have a great wedding with Jay and your grandparents, the people who deserve to be there. And now, onto the update. The situation has blown out of proportions. Kay's family has been blowing up my phone and sending me death/assault threats, and what's worse is that they have sent the same threats to my grandparents. I had a panic attack so bad when my grandma called me and told me, so I'm currently in the hospital. Joe's mum is with me, and Joe and his dad went to my hometown to bring my grandparents here because I'm honestly scared something may happen to them. I don't know what to do. This has turned into a nightmare. And before you suggest a restraining order, in my country, they won't give you one unless they actually hurt you. Joe's aunt has offered to have us move in with her across the country, and as much as we love our lives here, we will accept her offer. Edits. A lot of people keep asking why Kay and Ella want to come to my wedding when they clearly hate me. I don't think that they actually want to come. I think it's the fact that I don't want them there that makes them want to come. They're not used to being told no. Edits. I've had some comments saying that I should expose their tricks on social media, and I think I'll do that and tag all of them. I can update after I do that if y'all want me to. Thank you for all the comments and messages. Update. I posted all of the texts alongside the backstory on Facebook and Instagram, and I tagged them all. It's safe to say they aren't happy. Kay and Ella are now cut off by all her family because apparently they didn't know about how they treated me. Kay and Ella have been lying to Kay's family for years, pretending to be good stepmothers and sisters, and painting me as the cow that never accepted them and made their lives hell. In addition, my dad is offering me money to delete the post because his friends and boss saw it. Dad's friends refuse to talk to him, and his boss wants to see him first thing Monday morning, and I'm assuming it's to fire him because Dad's job involves public relations, and this is bad for their image. Now they're blowing up my phone with apologies and are begging me to delete everything. My dad is blaming Kay for all of this, and he's considering divorcing her in the hopes of saving his reputation. On another note, we accepted Joe's aunt's offer to move in with her, and we're thinking of making the move to her city permanent because, honestly, I'm in love with this place, and we may even get better paying jobs here. Anyway, tonight we're going to have a small party to celebrate my dad's life being ruined. Now in the comments, Daddo wants to divorce Kay to save his reputation, but not to save his relationship with his daughter. Kay, Ella, and Dad can F all the way off. He should have divorced her the minute she told him his own daughter shouldn't receive Christmas presents. I can't even imagine the conversation they had where Dad is like, yeah, that seems reasonable. It wouldn't have started with not giving his daughter Christmas gifts. It would have been a chain of favoring his wife and stepdaughter until by the time they got to Christmas gifts, his daughter was already alienated and he could not go along. But then he was only left with an angry, alienated daughter when his wife and stepdaughter leave. Abusers don't start off big. It sucks in both victims and enablers. Each step was just a bit worse than the last until he wasn't just enabling, he was an abuser too. At any point, he could have chose his daughter, but he didn't. That is the really sad point. He could have at any point done the right thing. If he had, and had worked for forgiveness, his daughter likely would have, but he would lose his wife and stepdaughter. Now he's choosing money and loneliness, and that choice isn't likely to save him money. He deserves all the consequences that are about to crash down on him. Most abuse victims don't get to see the consequences crash down on their abusers. Don't forget that the stepsister destroyed all the pictures of her mom, and when her father asked her why she was crying, she showed him the pictures of her mother all cut up. He told her just to get over it. What a rotten, useless asshole. I hope we get a post-wedding update saying, Dad was fired, he's divorcing stepmom, daughter ends up being on drugs for a long time and gets cut off. Also, F this dad. Legit saw his daughter leave and never once called until he was bored or something, then was on track to having his daughter back and reminded her why she left. What an effing moron. Good luck, OP. What's with all these families always blowing up people's phones, calling them an asshole? Is this a thing that actually happens? I feel like this is the punchline in every bad Am I the Asshole that just instantly makes me think it's BS. When I first told my mum that I wouldn't talk to her anymore if she was screaming at me, I had over 200 texts and voicemails in like an hour and a half. I went to dinner without my phone. When someone stands up to a toxic person, they blow up and convince all of their friends to blow up at you too. They're called flying monkeys. The angry person usually sends them some lie or sob story, and they come in to defend that person or to help fix the relationship. I went no contact with my racist and abusive grandparents as an older teen, like literally when I turned 18 and my dad couldn't force me on an airplane to visit anymore. All of my cousins and uncles came out of the woodwork to berate me and my parents. It's an emperor without clothes situation. People get really emotionally invested in having a perfect, happy family, and anyone who doesn't just go along with the narrative is actively trying to destroy it. So yeah, I'm glad that it's not realistic to you, lol. It means you probably had a less dysfunctional family than mine. Our next post is titled, My 42 male, daughter 14 female, won't get an abortion. So I am a single father to my daughter. My wife passed away with excessive bleeding after childbirth, so it's just me and her. She's a fantastic young lady, always on honor roll, really good at basketball, and is a social butterfly. She doesn't see too much of me because I work 9 to 7, but I'm home for dinner, and she started getting really good at cooking something little for the both of us. Around Tuesday, I noticed that there was something off about her. She was a whole lot quieter than she usually is, and there was no chatter during dinner. Right after dinner, she went up to her room, even though typically we sit and watch TV together. I figured that it was just moody teenage hormones, except it doesn't stop. On Friday, I finally take her hands and ask her what was wrong. She looked at me and just burst into tears. She cried more, so I held her until she was ready, and that's when she whispered, "I'm pregnant." I was shocked, utterly and completely shocked. I kept on hugging her, but my mind had gone blank. So I took her upstairs and I tucked her into bed. I didn't think asking her about what she planned to do when she was so vulnerable was a good idea. I'd wait until she'd calmed down. Saturday, she came down for breakfast, and I sat her down and asked her what her plans were. She said under no circumstances will she abort the baby. It is her baby, and she plans to keep it full term. I then asked about adoption, and she said that she didn't want to, that she could care for it. I calmly explained that we were no way financially able to care for a baby, and who would take care of it during the day. I go to work and she goes to school, and my parents, although were a big help in taking care of my daughter when she was younger, are too old to watch a baby. She suggested that she start online school, which I refused, saying I don't want to ruin her life. The thing is, I don't even want to consider adoption. I can't imagine her going through pregnancy and then labor, especially with what happened to her mother. I don't know if high-risk pregnancies are genetic, but if she has one, what if I lose her? I told her this, and she asked me if I had no love for my grandchild. But I don't. I don't care at all about the clump of cells in her uterus. I care about her, the girl I raised. I told her today that she had to abort her child. She cried, screamed, begged, telling me to reconsider, telling me that she would run away. There is no way that I'm letting her give birth. She could tear her body apart, and for school, I don't want her to face the stigma and hurt of teen pregnancy. At this point, I only see one way out of this, and that's telling her that if she doesn't abort it, I am kicking her out. It hurts me so much to do this, but if she doesn't do one, I'm afraid her life will truly be over. I won't actually, but I'm hoping it'll push her in the right direction. I'm pretty much manipulating her, but how do I get out of this? Where do I go from here? In the comments, firstly, take her to the doctor to double-check she's actually pregnant and have her doctor talk her through the risks on such a young pregnancy. Second, who's the father of this pregnancy? And OP replies, I'm going to try and get her to tell me. I haven't gotten it out of her yet. She's in her room right now and hasn't talked to me for a while. Honestly, at this point all you can do is support her, otherwise you'll end up losing her. If you support her and be there for her, she might change her mind when the reality sets in. Hell, she might not even be pregnant. What if she had sex once or twice, and then stress caused her to skip her period, and now she's just jumped straight to, oh crap, I must be pregnant. That's why she needs to go get checked by a doctor. OP replies, getting her checked first thing tomorrow. Already made an appointment. As someone who had their first child at 14, I would highly recommend against it. It's hard. So effing hard. My pregnancy was the result of abuse and having no family, which added a whole other layer, but even if I had have had a support network, it still would have been hard. There is nothing about going to school whilst looking after a newborn. Forget having any sort of social network or sense of normality. Your new normality is never having a second to yourself because you're either there for your baby or trying to get an education. It doesn't get easier as your child gets older, as raising a child is never easy, especially when you are one yourself. I am now 25 with an 11-year-old, and though I love him, I've never gotten to have my own experiences or be my own person. I've never traveled, I've constantly had to worry about getting a stable career so I can provide for him and myself. I can't maintain friendships because I've always been in a completely different stage than my peers, and older parents want nothing to do with a younger one. If I could go back and make different choices, I would. A child having a child is never a good decision. And now, on to the update. So today she didn't go to school, and we went to the local clinic to get her checked out. It's been confirmed. She is definitely pregnant, about 13 weeks along. Everything's fine so far, but she's automatically high risk because she's a teenager. They said she could develop anemia, low blood iron, or low blood pressure problems, and on top of that, the baby could also be born with disabilities. After the doctors, I took her out for ice cream and then asked her who the father was. I told her that I had to know. She had to tell me. She refused, saying she would raise the baby on her own without his help. We went home and she went to the bathroom and accidentally left her phone open, so I took it and I looked through her messages. According to the ones between her and her friends and her and the guy, he's 15 years old and is a friend of a friend. She hadn't told him yet. I wrote down his number and then messaged him on my phone, telling him that I was daughter's name's dad, and I needed him to give me his mother's phone number because of a big problem. I expected something of a fight, but the kid messaged it back to me. So I called his mom and I told him my daughter was pregnant, and her son was the father. She asked if I was sure, and I said based off the texts, it didn't seem like she'd had sex with anybody else, but she'd be free to get a paternity test. I said that it would be best if we got together at a coffee shop or something to talk, but she said there would be no need of that. She said her son would be waiving his parental rights, and they were not interested in a co-parenting situation. I asked about child support, and she said that her husband would pay it, but her son would not be involved. She asked for me not to tell her about any more details of the pregnancy, and they don't want to be at any appointments. She hung up before I could say anything else. Now I don't know where I stand. I can't afford a lawyer, and I don't think that I can make him get involved either way. I don't entirely trust them to be accommodating in terms of child support, considering how short his mother was. Is there any way they could get out of paying it? I don't know enough about the family, but if they have money and we don't, what's happening there? My daughter is no closer in getting an abortion or considering adoption, but I'm going to stop peppering her with it now. My sister and her are talking right now at the suggestion of another Redditor, and I hope that a female influence will work better on her than I am. She's sending a little bit of money, and I think I may be able to set up a therapy appointment for her to talk out her options in a professional way, something my sister and I can do. In the comments, generally speaking, court-ordered child support isn't something that you can just get waived, minor or not, once paternity has been established. It's also in most jurisdictions, costs you absolutely nothing, and whether he wants to be involved or not, it's enough of a hassle that his future tax returns and paychecks will be garnished to pay his support obligation. Yeah, you're going to want to get a lawyer who specializes in family law to help you out with this part, OP. If they refuse to actually pay, despite what the mother of the boy said, the lawyer can help you pursue a paternity test and get a petition for child support rolling. I'm not a lawyer, but I frequent the law advice subreddit. It might be worth asking for advice on this there. I'm not sure if this is of any help, but I was adopted at birth because my mother had me at a young age. I can't even imagine the life that my birth mother would have had if she had kept me for herself. She ended up going to college, and she has a very good career and a wonderful family of her own that she loves, as do I. I was adopted into a very loving family, and honestly, it was best for me and my birth mother in the long run. My birth mother and I never ended up struggling financially as much as we would have if she were to have kept me. I keep in touch with my birth mother and her family, and they are wonderful people, and I love them dearly. But I also love my adopted family as my own. If she's worried about aborting the baby, please have her consider adoption. I am extremely pro-choice, but in your daughter's situation, it seems that she's not budging. She will still be able to be in contact with the family and her baby. My family was required to send my birth family updates constantly. As someone who was adopted, I never struggled with the idea of being adopted because I was let know of it at an early age. It didn't affect me, and I am thankful for that. By all means, it is ultimately her choice. I am very pro-choice, and I do not think that adoption/going through with the pregnancy is always the answer. And OP replies, "Thank you so much for sharing. I'm really hoping her child will have a good life, but in the end, that is not my greatest worry. It is her herself. That's why your story is really heartwarming. Maybe if she gets an open adoption and stays in touch, they'll both be happy." Most importantly for a 14-year-old, normal teenage life just ends. Having friends, having hobbies, saving up for the latest fad, or just hanging out, all of these get thrown out the window. And now on to the final update. I last posted about a week ago. She decided to keep the baby, but for a while she had been complaining about cramps and backaches, which we were told by the doctor will be expected and normal. I think they were a whole lot worse than she let on, but she didn't tell me. Around 1:30 a.m. last night, the bleeding started and we went straight to the hospital, where we were told that she had miscarried. They said that it was a late miscarriage, which happens after 13 weeks but before 20. As soon as she found out, she lost it. She started screaming at me, "Are you happy now?" and just cried and cried. She had a DNE, dilation and evacuation, and the doctors kept her to look her over and understand why it happened. They said that it was about a weak cervix, in which basically, as the baby grows and pushes on the cervix, in some women, the pressure causes the cervix to open before the baby is born, which can result in an early labor or a second trimester miscarriage. According to the doctor, most late miscarriages are because of that, and they don't typically check for it during pregnancies, which is why it's not usually diagnosed until after the miscarriage happens. The doctors told us her body will recover fairly quickly from it. She will need some bed rest for some time, but she will be fine. Her emotional state is a whole other problem. She wouldn't let me hold her while she cried, and she screamed at me for a while after she woke up from the DNE. She kept on saying how it was my fault, and I must be delighted that this was happening to her. I told her over and over I was so sorry, I loved her, it was no one's fault, but I may as well have been talking to a wall for all she cared. All night long she cried, wouldn't eat, and couldn't sleep. Today she was a little better and had some lunch, except outside of her room a pregnant woman, not a patient, I think a visitor to the child next door, walked by, and she broke down again. Right now she's in an absolutely horrible emotional state. I'm so worried about her. I'm terrified that she'll do something to herself. She'll be wounded beyond repair, and she'll probably hate me forever. I can't even begin to think that this was a blessing in disguise, which is what my sister told me over the phone today. There is no more baby, but there is so little left of her now. How do I help her? Edit. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to reply to any comments before it was locked. It's been a busy day. I just want everyone to know, thanks for taking the time to reply. Therapy is a must. I'll take a look into cheaper options, but I'm thinking of reducing my hours, which may be kind of counterproductive, but she needs me. For those saying she may try to get pregnant again, I don't think she will because of the incompetent cervix issue, meaning if she does, she knows it'll probably end in miscarriage. We'll be looking into getting that treated as well. For those of you saying this post is fake, trust me, I know how it looks. It seems awfully convenient. I don't know what to tell you, but it's not. I had some time while she slept for a short amount of time, which is when I posted. Nobody was picking up at that hour, and I had to get advice from somewhere. So thanks, Reddit. This will be my last post, and I just want to thank everyone who reached out to me. And in the comments, so sad. I hope they're doing better now, and the daughter is graduating high school this year. I hope he got her some therapy. Sounds like a pretty traumatic experience all round. Miscarriages usually are, and it's something that isn't usually talked about, even though it's extremely common. On top of the physical event itself, hormones make it so much worse. I miscarried around 10 weeks. Up until that point, HCG levels increase about 50% each day and then drop to nothing when you miscarry. I was so dysfunctional. It felt like I was trying to walk through jello. This poor kid has gone through a lot. She never even had a mum. Poor dad hasn't even realized that the likely reason she clung on hard to want to raise the baby is because of this. Losing a baby is also traumatic, but the fact she already lost her mother in childbirth is something that should not be neglected about this poor girl's emotional state. One of the private high schools brought their health class, all girls, to our hospital to watch a childbirth. It's a religion-based private school with one of the church members consenting to allowing the class to witness the birth of her child. That made an impression on every one of those girls. Young teen girls are often misguided by TV and movies, portraying the experience without the hard realities. Even the show Call the Midwife shows the midwife just reaching under the sheet and pulling out a baby, and then everyone's happy. Real life is so much harder. I'm all for this being a regular part of sex ed. Yeah, STD pictures are scary and all, but it ain't crap compared to giving birth. Add in some women talking about their lifelong issues too. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.